Hello guys, welcome to my channel. So in this video I am going to explain about the thread methods. So first we will see about the current thread method. So what is the use of current thread methods is current thread method returns the currently executing thread. So whenever you call thread.currentThread method, and it will return the current executing thread. So why we use this method current thread means in order to identify which thread is currently executing the code. So we will use this current thread method, and mainly it is used for debugging and logging purposes. And next we are going to see the getName method. Okay, so what is the use of getName method? So getName method, it will just get the name of the thread, like the thread 0, thread 1 or the thread 2. So there is one program we can see. Yeah, this is the program. So I just created a thread t is equal to new thread, and I am not writing anything over here. So if I want to write, okay, and I am using the t dot get name method. So when I run this method, I used to get thread 0 as the output. Yeah, you can see I got the thread 0 as the output. This running is not printed because I am not starting the thread. So what happens here is when I call thread t is equal to new thread, yet the new thread will be created, okay, but it has not started. You can check the state as well. Like if I check the state of it, I'll get the state as new state. Yeah, you can see the state is new. So yeah, basically what we are seeing is the getName method. GetName method, it will get the name of the thread, in this case thread 0. Okay, so next we will see the next method. So the next method is the setName method. So setName method, you can give meaningful names for your thread. Okay, like thread t is equal to new thread. Like you can give the name here, thread dot, there is one method called as setName. Okay, you can give whatever the name you want with this, and like this you can set the name for your thread. So like what is the advantage of setting the name for your thread? So that is the question, right? So the main advantage is for assume you have an 200 threads in your application. So whenever you're logging, whenever you see the thread 124, so it will be confusing, right? So you can set the name of your thread as payment service, and now you can clearly see, okay, this thread is related to the payment service module. So because of this meaningful names, which you can make, because of this meaningful names, you can make the debugging easier. So that is why you will give the names for your thread. So let's go to the another method. The another method is the sleep method. Okay, so since I have put 5 stars, it's a very important method. So what does the sleep method do? Is the sleep method, it pauses the current executing thread for a specific period of time. For example, like you can see the right side, I have a program. So what I am doing is I am printing the start method, and after that I am calling thread.sleep method. Thread.sleep of 3000, it's in milliseconds. That means that after printing start, it will wait for 3 seconds and then print the end method. Okay, so in order to make this happen, we will be using the sleep method. Okay, and there is one important question here in the asked in the interview. So whenever the thread goes to the sleep method, right, here in this case the thread is sleeping for 3 seconds. So in that case, whether the lock is getting released or not, so that is the question. Okay, so actually the lock is not getting released. The thread will go to the sleeping state while holding the lock only. So that's why if other threads are waiting to execute the synchronized block, they cannot enter because the lock is with the thread which is in sleeping state. So that thread has to come out of sleeping state, and it has to complete the execution and exit it. Then only the other threads can able to execute. So yeah, this is one of the important interview so question. So you just remember this. So next go to the join method. Oh, Yeah, this is a join method. What is the use of join method? Means when you call join method, so the join method has to wait until the other thread completes its execution. So example, there are two threads. Assume you have a main thread and a worker thread, and the main thread has to wait until the worker thread finishes. Okay, then we need to call the join method. So I'll show you the example here. So you can see we have a my thread one and there is this run method. So what I am doing is I am creating a thread. My thread is equal to new my thread, and I am calling the start method. So when I call the start method, so it is responsible for the execution of this run method. Okay, then you can see here I am calling the t dot join method. So when I call the t dot join method, the main thread has to wait until the thread t completes its execution. So that is what the use of join method. You can see every time how many times you run your application, you will get running sorry, working as the first output and then the completed. Why? Because you are calling join method. If you are not calling join method, the output may differ. Like let me check. See, you are getting completed first and working method. But if you are calling with the join, then the main thread has to wait until the thread t come executes. Okay, in this case you will get the output as working completed. So that is the use of join method. And whenever the thread we create, whenever the thread is created, it will be new state. Okay, and whenever you call this t dot start method, the thread will be entered to the runnable state. And after that, whenever you call the t dot join method, the thread will be going to the which state? Block state. Sorry, it will be going to the waiting state. Okay, it's not blocked, it's going to the waiting state. So yeah, this is all about join method. Then we will be learning about yield method. So yield method we will not use much in the real time world. So what yield method will do means, it will pause its execution for some period of time, and it will give the chance for other threads of same priority. Whenever you call thread.yield, like it will other threads will execute, but it's not at all mandatory. It's just an int given to the thread scheduler. So then we will see the interrupt method. So yeah, interrupt method. So what is the use of interrupt method is, so and this method is heavily used in real time applications. The interrupt method is used to interrupt the thread and stop from what it is doing. So how do you interrupt the thread? By calling the interrupt method. Okay, I'll show you the program as well. So and the thing is, the interrupt method will not forcibly stop the thread, yeah, but it states but it sets the thread status to the interrupt. And suppose if a thread is in sleep or wait or joining state, that means when the thread is in waiting state, if you call this interrupt method, then it will throw some exception that is called as interrupted exception. So I'll show you the program. So there is a thread, and in the try catch I have the program is the it is sleeping for 5 seconds, and what I am doing, I am starting the thread, and meanwhile I am calling the interrupt method. So whenever when I start the thread, it will start executing this run method, and whenever I call the t dot interrupt method, so the interrupted exception will get occurred, and this exception is caught, and I'll get the interrupted as the output. So let's run this program. You can see I got the interrupted as the output. So yeah, interrupt is used to stop the thread from what it is doing. Okay, so there is some method called as a stop method. Okay, in previously we have a stop method in the Java, but it is deprecated, and also like it will since the stop method will leave that shared data, because threads share the same process memory, right? Since it leaves that shared data as inconsistent state, so we will use the interrupt method, not the stop method. And there is some another method called as isAlive. IsAlive method is mainly used to check whether the thread is alive or not. That is whether the thread is running or not. I'll show you the demo. So this is a small program, and I'm not printing anything here. First, before starting a thread, when I try to print, the thread is not alive, right? It's not in running status. So that's why you should get false as the answer. And in the second case, you're starting a thread and it should get true as the answer. Let's run this program and see whether you're getting the proper output. Yeah, first it is false and another is true. So next we'll go to the set priority method. Okay. Um Set priority. So set priority, here we are setting the priority for each and every thread. Okay, and the thread priority ranges from 1 to 10, and 1 is the minimum priority and 10 is the maximum priority, and the default priority is 5. And since if you are setting the thread with highest priority, does it gets more preference? Practically it's not. It's like you can see it here. Does a higher priority guarantees the faster execution? Practically no, we are just giving a hint to the thread scheduler that this thread has highest priority, but these modern operating systems will ignore, or it will have less impact on the thread priority. So that is one of the common interview question. Okay, you should remember. So I think you have learnt all the methods related to the threads. So we learnt about the current thread. It returns the current thread. Get name, gets the name of thread name. Set name, you can set the name for your thread. And sleep method, then join method, yield method, and uh, these sleep, join and deal method. If you want to if you want to stop the execution of our thread, then you can use these three methods. Then interrupt method, isAlive method, set priority we see. Get priority means in order to get the thread priority, what is the priority? Now we will look into some of the interview questions. Okay, so the most important question is, what is the difference between sleep method and join method? So sleep method, whenever you call the sleep method, the current thread pauses its execution for a fixed amount of time. Okay, but whenever you call the join method, the current thread will wait for another thread to complete its execution. And whenever you call the sleep method, it will go to timed waiting state, and whenever you call the join method, it will go to waiting state. And if there is a timeout, it will go to timed waiting state. And does the sleep releases a synchronized lock? So as you know that the sleep method will not release the lock. It goes to the sleep method while holding the lock itself. Does the join releases the locks held by waiting thread? So yeah, whenever you call the join method, does it releases the lock? So yeah, it won't releases the lock automatically. So join method just make the current thread to wait for another thread to finish. It won't release the lock. Okay, that is the important question. And what does the interrupt method do? Interrupt method, it will it will interrupt the thread's execution by changing the state to interrupt status. And if the thread is in sleeping state or it's in waiting state, then it will throw interrupted exception. And does yield method guarantee another thread will run? Oh, like what is the function of yield method? It will pause the execution for some period of time, right? And it will give the chance to the other thread for running. So does it guarantee another thread will run? It's not sure, so it's just a suggestion. And the thread scheduler will decide whether the another thread will run or not. So these are some of the important topics related to the thread methods. I think you have a clear understanding of the thread methods. So if you have any doubts, please write it in the comment section, and thank you so much for watching.